Hey guys, it's INTP from MBTI Characters, and I'm going to show you how to figure out the function stack order for any Myers Briggs type.
Okay, so first we have judging functions. So they are any feeling or thinking function, so that includes Fi, Fe, Ti, and Te. And we also have perceiving functions. So this is any function that is sensing or intuition. So that includes Si, Se, Ni, and Ne. Now let's talk about axes. The way that axes work is they're like a duo. If you have one function from the duo, you have to have the other function as well somewhere else in the stack. So we have judging and perceiving axes. So let's go over them. So for the judging axes, we have Ti and Fe, and Te and Fi. You can't have one without the other. Remember, these are two separate duos. So for perceiving stacks, we first have Ni and Se, and Ne and Si. So I'm going to put these in the corner so that we can consult them, as these are the driving force behind function stack orders. Now let's look at introverts versus extroverts. So introverts. The function stack for introverts is always I, then E, then I, then E. For extroverts, it's always extroverted function followed by introverted, then extroverted, then introverted. Now that we have that, let's start with IXXJs. So any introverted judger. So introverted judgers actually start with a perceiving function. We know it has to be introverted because of this order right here. That must be followed by extroverted judging, then introverted judging function, then extroverted perceiving. Now these are part of an axis as well as these, but more on that later. Let's do a specific IXXJ and start with an ISTJ. So we know this has to start with an introverted perceiving function. And because this is a sensor, ISTJ's preference is going to be a sensing function. Therefore, it has to be this right here. Now that we know that this NE must be the inferior function to complete this axis right here. Now as for the judging functions, we have a thinker, so it's going to be extroverted, and it also has to be thinking. So we're in this axis right here. So let's write that in. And here we have ISTJ's function stack. Now let's look at introverted perceivers. So introverted perceivers lead with an introverted judging function. Again, we know it's introverted due to this order right here. That means extroverted judging function is inferior. So then we have extroverted perceiving because of this again, then introverted perceiving, and then we already filled that in. Let's do an example. INFP. So we know this leads with an introverted judging function, and it has to be introverted feeling because this is a feeler, not a thinker, so we're right in this axis right here. So we know INFPs lead with Fi, and their inferior must be Te to complete this axis. So Fi has to be followed by Ne because we have an extroverted perceiving function, and it has to be extroverted intuition because this is an intuitive. So Ne must be followed by Si. So now we can cross these out, and then we have this complete stack for an INFP. Now let's look at extroverted judgers. EXXJ. So extroverted judgers do lead with a judging function, extroverted judging function, followed by introverted perceiving, introverted perceiving, extroverted perceiving, introverted judging. So, for example, if we have an ESFJ, so extroverted judging function, the mode of judging is going to be feeling. So it must be extroverted feeling first. So we're in this axis, and we have to have introverted thinking as the inferior to complete the axis. We have a sensor, so its mode of So its mode of perceiving is going to be sensing. It has to be introverted, so it's going to be introverted sensing, followed by NE to complete that axis. And here we have ESFJ. And finally, extroverted perceivers. EXXP. Extroverted perceivers lead with extroverted perceiving function, followed by introverted judging, extroverted judging, and finally, introverted perceiving. So let's take, for example, let's do an ENTP. So we know the first function has to be extroverted perceiving, and this is an intuitive type, so it has to be NE, so the inferior must be SI. So we have those done. And introverted judging function has to be introverted thinking, because this is a thinker, and that must be, and we're in this axis here, so that must be followed by FE. So there we have it.